رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Lord, the chairman of this session, permit me to stand on the existing protocol well established by the anchor of today's session for the once of time. I hope the thing is granted. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The topic of this presentation is Sharia governance and Halal certification and standardization in Nigeria. Legal, institutional, and professional challenges. Our discussion since yesterday has been over this important industry, this important center of halal economy that is connected to our day-to-day life and is considered as a religious duty for all Muslims. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded the mankind to eat halal. Ya ayyuhan nas kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba, and commanded the believers to also consume halal. Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum, and commanded the prophets and messengers, Ya ayyuhal rusulu kulu min tayyibati wa'malu salihah, and he described our noble prophet, the son of prophets, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as the one that will permit them to eat at-tayyibat. At-tayyibat. وَيُحِلُّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثَ وَيَضَعُ عَنْهُمْ إِصْرَهُمْ وَالْأَغْلَالَ الَّتِي كَانَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ. That means halal consumption is a religious duty. My learned brothers in this hall attending this important gathering, let me open this. Next slide, please. Let me open this presentation with an opening reflection. Next slide, please. Okay. With an opening reflection, a distinguished Malaysian professor of Islamic economics once posed a simple but profound question to participants of a conference. And his question was, what is the single most reliable indicator of the growth and maturity of Islamic finance industry globally? They offered variety of answers. Some pointed to the rapid increase in Islamic finance. Others cited rising value of Islamic financial assets. Some cited the increase in number of Sharia scholars. But none of these responses satisfied this professor. At the end, the professor, after several attempts, revealed that the true indicator of the growth of Islamic finance is the increase in participation of lawyers. Is the increase in participation of lawyers. Why? That means the success of Nigeria's halal industry will depend not only on Sharia scholars, certification bodies, but also on the active participation of legal practitioners in designing, regulating, enforcing, and strengthening the legal architecture of halal governance in the country. Your role as learned community, particularly to the Islamic faith, is very paramount. If we didn't take it, don't wonder if you see other learned members of the bar from different faiths taking the lead, and we have seen currently in the Islamic finance industry, a component of the Islamic economics. Because of the laxity of the Muslim learned persons and other professionals, now we find among the industry leaders, non-Muslims taking lead in the Islamic finance industry. Take the case of Sukuk as a case study that was cited yesterday by a learned professor, Professor Abikor. It is true. It is empirically proven that most of the investors of Sukuk are the conventional bond investors, not the Muslims. One of the marvelous things you will see, you find that some Muslims think that Sukuk is a construction company. Some thought that it is a village being numbering Sukuk 1, Sukuk 2, Sukuk 3, Sukuk 4. While others thought it is just a government policy. Count the different misconceptions about it. You can't expect somebody that doesn't know what it means to invest in it. I urge the learned community to embrace halal economy because their participation increase and strengthen the industry. This is just a reflection that I wanted to start my presentation. When we talk about the Islamic economy, halal economy, according to the CIMIC, which is the Standards and Metrology Institute for Islamic Countries, which is a subsidiary of OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, they It also advocates for halal as a tool for poverty reduction, job creation, and sustainable development. Next slide, please. When we talk of conceptualizing the Sharia governance in halal certification, we refer to integrated system of legal, institutional, regulatory, technical, and Sharia oversight mechanisms through which halal certification bodies are directed, controlled, monitored, and held accountable to ensure that all certification activities consistently comply with the principles of Sharia, applicable laws, and recognize halal standards while maintaining transparency, independence, integrity, and public confidence. Accordingly, Sharia governance extends, please move again. Sharia governance extends beyond determining whether the product is halal. It encompasses the governance, structures, institutional arrangements, regulatory controls, professional competences, risk management mechanisms, and legal accountability necessary to maintain public confidence in halal certification system. While the Sharia governance system is comprehensive, Sharia governance for halal certification is expected to comprise the following: 1. Sharia oversight. 2. Legal and regulatory governance. 3. Sharia standards and technical governance. 4. Sharia assurance. And 5. Sharia consumer and stakeholder protection. When we talk about halal certification and standardization, for halal certification, we mean the formal processes by which an independent and competent certification body assesses and verifies that a product, service, process, or management system complies with the established halal requirements, and upon satisfactory assessment, issue a halal certificate as evidence of such compliance. And by extension, such halal certificate will be reflected in halal logo to be fixed in product and services. While halal standardization refers to the process of developing, adopting, harmonizing, implementing, and maintaining uniform halal requirements, technical specifications, conformity assessment procedures, and governance principles to ensure consistency, reliability, and international recognition of halal certification. Therefore, while halal certification determines whether a product or service comply with the established halal requirements, halal standardization establish a benchmark against which compliance is measured. And there are so many halal standards that are being used globally, notably among them the one that is adopted currently by the Standard Organization of Nigeria as a key, as one of the leading agencies in halal standardization. That is the agency with key mandate, or leading agency when it comes to standardization in the country. They currently adopted about 3 or 4 CIMIC standards related to halal certification. And there is also another for JAKI, which is Jabatan Agama Islamic Malaysia, which is called JAKI, the Department of Religious Affairs in Malaysia. This is one of the most recognized standards globally. And there is UAE, Saudi, and many more standards that are being used across different jurisdictions. Briefly, we look at the development of halal economy, which started from around, I'm able to divide it into about 3 stages, which is founding stage, formative stage, and development stage. In the founding stage, the emergence of halal trade, post-colonial Muslim majority nations began industrialization, creating demand for process of halal goods, and also migration of Muslims to European and American continents were triggered to have a body that will certify that what Muslim consumes in those countries complies with the principles of Sharia. And in the formative period, Malaysia and Indonesia began institutionalization of the standards around 1970s and 1980s. From 1990s to date is considered as the development period, where Malaysia has JAKI standards. This is the period of standardization where you have global unified benchmarks that standardization or that halal certification can be measured. The JAKI, the MUI, the IFANCA of USA, and the likes were the developments that followed in this stage. And in this stage, an expansion is being noticed where halal has gone beyond foods to cover pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, finance, and tourism. And this is the stage of the development, and this is the stage where we are. And Nigeria still is at the founding stage up to now. When we talk of halal, there are stages for consumption of halal. When we talk of halal, there are stages of consumption of halal. There are 3 stages. The first stage is in relation to the product. That is that product halal? As Allah instructed us that Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kulu mimma fil ardi kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum, and ya ayyuhan nasu kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. This must be must not be part of the exclusions mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah. حرمت عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل لغير الله به والمنخنقة والموقوذة والمتردية والنطيحة وما أكل السبع إلا ما ذكيتم وما ذبح على النصب وأن تستقسموا بالأزلام. All these should not be under this. If any of the products fall under this, automatically it is haram, and that product is being disqualified. The second stage is to move to the processing, slaughtering. How is it being slaughtered? Even if an animal, for example, is halal, if it is being slaughtered in non-halal way, it will not be consumed. For example, somebody is instructed by a broker to slaughter beans color of a ram. When he slaughtered that one, it's dubiha ala nusuk. It's not allowed, even though it is halal originally, but the process is not halal. And that process starts from slaughtering, cooling system up to the transportation must be halal and tayyiban, as the two components being identified by the surah, by the ayah surah, halal and tayyiba. Then the last one, which is the most difficult, is how do you acquire? What is the source through which you acquire what you call as halal? If you consume it from halal, do you purchase it from halal? Then it's halal or tayyiban. Otherwise, even if it is being slaughtered, even if it is a ram being reared by imam and being slaughtered by chief imam, that ram, if it is being acquired by another person through halal, haram means it will not be considered as halal. And what brought us to the significance of halal financing. How did you finance what you have? I used to cite one happening that happens amongst young men who wanted to eat chicken, but they don't have means to get it. They climb into one country, got 4 chicken for each one of them, and alhamdulillah, nobody saw them, according to them, of course. When they have now started arguing who will slaughter. They are thieves. Is it allowed to eat what a thief slaughter? They don't know the ruling. Finally, they resolve to go to an imam and tell him ask them to come to give him so that he will slaughter. Finally, he slaughtered, and they fried their and they roast their chicken and halal, according to them. Please, is this halal? Is it halal? No. But don't forget that it's a chicken. It's among halal foods. And it is being slaughtered by an imam. What is the problem? They acquire it through haram means. And this is the source. So also if somebody take corruption, or what is called as money, or whatever, there are so many different names given to bad things in Nigeria. What is ihsani? This is ihsani. It's not ihsani. So whatever means that you acquire, which is haram, either through riba, or through gharar, or through gambling, or through corruption, or through any means that is being tagged by an ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil. Any type of this is prohibited and it is not allowed, and that source is still haram. Unless these 5 are completed, we cannot have full halal cycle. But halal economy, there are key sectors in halal economy. We have Islamic finance, we have halal foods, modest fashion, halal travel, and halal pharmaceutical and cosmetics. We can further subdivide this into 2 in Nigerian context and even globally. The Islamic finance component of the economy, alhamdulillah, in this country has been developed across about 5 regulators, right from the central Nigeria We have currently about 6 standalone Islamic banks, beside other windows. Coming to the Islamic insurance, which is Takaful, we have about 5 Takaful operators under the regulation of the NICOM, under the new Act NIRA, Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act, which is recently enacted 2025, up to the IS Investment and Securities Act 2025 by Securities and Exchange Commission. We have so many fund managers. So also Islamic pension, which is not known to many of the Muslims. It has been there for 5 years. There is a component or alternative of the pension funds that were there, which were established in 2004 by the Pension Reform Act and amended in 2014, same act, in 2021, an alternative after so many agitation and so many sacrifices by industrials is but one of the mamachios and takachios many Muslims are not aware. That fund currently stood at only 300 billion, while the total size of the pension industry stood to the tune of 30 trillion naira. 30 trillion. We are not up to 1% of net asset value of the pension industry. And when it comes to argument, you begin to ask, we are the majority in the country. We have to act in order to actualize or justify our presence and our dominance. This act has been agitated for over 10 years. When it was realized, the turnout is very low. Talk about the sukuk. I said many people thought it's just a construction company. So all these sectors are well established when it comes to Islamic finance, components of halal economy. Now, the other components, halal foods, cosmetics, tourism, halal travel, all these are yet developed, and these are the areas that I will concentrate in this conversation relating to Sharia governance. The key components and their key actors, we have financial institutions, I have mentioned, we have halal products, we have halal certification, exports and trades, we have SMEs, Sharia advisory and governance, academics and training, and legal practitioners. All these are key players in the market, and each of them has strategic function, has a core function and strategic importance to deliver when it comes to halal economy delivery in the country. One of the key areas of this presentation is to look into the global approaches when it comes to halal certification and standardization. There are different approaches globally, but I wanted to select few which are the famous and the most practiced globally. We have about 4, out of which we will see which was the Nigerian diversity and peculiar. The first one, move to the next slide, please. Next slide. Next. Yeah, the first one is the governance-led centralized halal certification model. This is a model that is frequently being used in 2 countries, Malaysia and I. The model is government-led centralized halal certification. The key actor is government ministries, national standards body, and Sharia advisory council. These are the key actors in this system. And the legal basis is Comprehensive Halal Act, or specifies legislation establishing a national halal authority, supported by national standards and implementing regulations. This is what is done in Malaysia under Jagin, Batan Agama. is the Department of Religious Studies and Religious Activities in Malaysia. So also the governance style is centralized. Government serves as the principal regulator, accreditor, and in many cases the sole issuer of the halal certificate. Sharia decisions are integrated into the statutory regulatory framework. And this system, as I said, is practically and prevalently in Malaysia and Brunei. Of course, this may not be suitable for Nigerian context because we know the hula values that were raised even when the halal economy strategy was to launch at the presidential villa, with so many diverse opinions of its suitability or otherwise. But then it was slated to be carried out in the presidential villa in October last year, but then it was just being cancelled a day after so many critical participants come to the country from ISDB, from Badia banks, Arab banks for development in Africa, the Saudi Halal Product Development Company, HBDC, and many stakeholders. They were here when the thing was cancelled. But then the lesson and the signal is that anything to do with halal, anything to do with Islam, you know it will be countered by our counterparts. And that has been demonstrated in the then efforts to establish the Sharia codes in the Constitution of 1978 to 1979 before the Second Republic. And the recent hula values that were raised during Sharia introduction around 2000 and 2001, and even the objection of introduction of Islamic finance in the 2010 and around 2010 and 2011, when some organizations, faith-based organizations, conformity assessment regulations, as well as halal standards adopted by the government, which were being issued by global halal certification, halal standard issuance bodies. And the governance style is supervisory and decentralized. Government does not necessarily issue halal certificates directly, but accreditates and supervises competent certification bodies to ensure compliance with national standards. And the examples, as I said, Saudi, UAE, Pakistan, and the likes. This one looks to be a little bit implementable with some adjustments, and is a market-driven model. This one is independent halal certification bodies, organizations, industry associations, and food manufacturers, consumer protection agencies. There is no any government involvement, fully private. The legal basis is general corporate law. There is no any statute dedicated for halal. Consumer protection legislation, food safety laws, contract law, and voluntary industry standards rather than legislation. It is governance style is decentralized and market-driven. Independent private organizations issue halal certificates, while government oversight is generally limited to food safety, fair trade, and consumer protection. And this is what is being practiced for Muslims at Ifanka, in the United States of America, in the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, Brazil, and other jurisdictions where halal is doesn't but in minority. Now, I believe this model also is not relevant and is not suitable for Nigerian jurisdiction. But then there are some areas that we can benefit from them concerning our peculiarity. Now, the proposed integrated Nigerian model for halal certification to improve halal economy in the country is a hybrid model taken from about 3 models: Malaysian, the first, second, and third, the first, third, and fourth models, with the exception of the second model of Indonesia, which is mandatory, not make it mandatory in Nigeria. The model is integrated, is proposed for Nigeria. The key actors are NINAS. NINAS is the National Accreditation Authority, is the Nigerian National Accreditation System, which is an SRO, self-regulatory organization for conformity, for the accreditation of conformity assessment bodies. We also supposed to have SON, SON, which is the National Standards Authority, so that we can have private certification bodies as we are having, like Dar al Halal and HCA Halal Certification Authority in Lagos and Abuja, respectively. This, we also have Sharia advisory boards. We also have NAFDAC, Nigerian Export Council, and industry associations. These are going to be championing, these bodies are going to be championing the cause of halal economy. The governance style is that public-private partnership PPP with regulatory oversight. Private halal certification bodies conduct inspections and issue halal certificates. Which is Nigerian National Accreditation System, accredited certification bodies based on the internationally accepted conformity assessment requirements. SON adopts domesticated CIMIC halal standards as Nigerian industrial standards, and also registers accredited halal certification under it is Nigeria National Register for Conformity Assessment Bodies, which is called NRCAM. It is there under the SON Standard Organization of Nigeria, while Sharia advisory boards provide independent religious oversight within each certification body. And this is the recommended model. Why this model is suitable for Nigerian context? One, it respects Nigeria's religious diversity by avoiding a monopoly over halal certification while ensuring credible oversight. builds on existing institutions, avoiding the immediate cost and complexity of accrediting a new federal agency. We know the sensitivities attached to this. It aligns also the international conformity assessment practices, where accreditation is separated to preserve partiality, so that we avoid conflict of interest. The body accreditates conformity assessment bodies is different from the assessment halal conformity assessment bodies, so that there will be no conflict of interest. It also promotes competition and innovation among accredited private halal certification bodies while maintaining consistent national standards on halal. It also enhances international recognition of Nigerian halal certificates through enhanced through adherence to globally accepted accreditation and standardization frameworks. So you can see the hybrid integrated models can suit the Nigerian peculiarity and diversity. While we consider this system in the interim, we have to push forward for future projects. At the current time, we don't need any standalone legislation. We can blend halal industry in the current existing structures of governance and regulators, as well as the laws. All we need is some regulations, subsidiary regulations, following to the primary or substantive legislation. As we have done, and it has succeeded when it comes to establishment of Islamic banking. When the Islamic banking was established in the country, there was no any standalone legislation governing it. What was used is the provisions of the BOFIA in relation to profit and loss sharing banking. And it flies. It was after about 10 years or 9 years when the central bank incorporated some relevant sections in the BOFIA. 2020 when it was amended. But before that time, what was used was the CBN, was the BOFIA 2004, and based on it, these banks, about two banks, the Taj Bank, Ajais Bank, and Taj Bank, were licensed based on this. There was no any single standalone. So the same applies in Nigeria when in 2013 they issued guidelines for the regulation happening in the country. There was no any standalone. They just really pursuant to the what they tag as the micro insurance. Under these, the couple operators were licensed. Today we are having about 5 registered halal couple operators which are operating based on Islamic insurance system. But when recently NIRA, the insurance laws were being integrated into one legislation under NIRA, Nigerian insurance, it will not be up to 5 minutes, inshallah. Nigerian insurance reform, Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act. When it came, it recognized takaful. There is a mention of takaful in section 201 of the new act. So also similar was applied in SEC when they reviewed the Investment and Securities Act. Therefore, we can use currently the existing structure in the standard organization of Nigerian Establishment Act 2007 with the NAFDAC and other relevant regulators laws to build inside them the halal system. In the second phase, in the medium term, we have respect to enactment of Nigerian Halal Certification and Standardization Act to establish a comprehensive legal framework, Standardization Act, and to establish comprehensive legal, which is to define international institutional and formalize Sharia governance without having any agency to avoid any attention that it will create more burden of government, but just the act to primarily identify the roles and attach it to existing organizations. In the long term, we expect to establish National Halal Economic Commission or Authority. This is projected to be in the future without any timeline. It depends on how people accept it and how we plan it and how good we promote it and create awareness among the people. In this case, we expect that this body will be solely responsible for coordinating halal certification, standardization, international recognition, trade promotion, and capacity development across sector of halal economy. Now, key challenges. The challenges of halal economy in the country: we have absence of national halal governance framework that has been established. We have incomplete accreditation infrastructure. Currently, as recommended, NINAS has mandate for accreditation of conformity assessment bodies. SOM has mandate to register conformity assessment bodies under NRCAP. So, but up to now, NINAS has no any platform, any policy to carry out this function. There are also fragmented institutional coordination because it's been spread across different organizations, as we earlier highlighted. There is lack of statutory recognition of halal governance, and we also have lack of human capacity. There is human capacity deficit. Nigeria requires a new generation of multidisciplinary professionals with expertise in law, Sharia, quality infrastructure, conformity assessment, and corporate governance. The shortage of such professionals remains one of the greatest contributors to the sustainable development of halal economy in the country. At the end, the paper remains development of national halal framework, strengthen the national accreditation infrastructure, institutionalize interagency coordination, and invest in human capital development, and finally establish a national halal economic authority as a long-term institutional, not now, as a long-term institutional goal. I say that because I have some of the recommendations that we need to have. It is remote and it will not fly. And we have seen experiences in different sectors when it comes to this. We have to be strategic, we have to be patient, and we have to take it step by step. وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the time to make this presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. May Allah bless you. May Allah protect you. May Allah continue to guide you in your